Emotionally.
And spiritually.
Yeah. Namaste.
All right, we're here. I believe it's live on Facebook, on the Facebook group, and we're live here with each other. No one's like a hologram that's been recorded, as far as I know.
No.
We're all here.
It's all real. Couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford a hologram.
Next time, after we get the big bucks.
Oh, man, I would love a hologram. That would be fantastic. I don't have to do my own podcasts and shows anymore. I just have my hologram.
That's the life. That's the future. So we're here at the Station of Decapitation with Your Head. I'm Nasty Neil. I'm joined by Josh Stifter. I always want to say Stifler, but Stifter. He's a writer and director of Greywood's plot. He's also in Greywood's plot. Then we have Greywood himself, Daniel Degnan.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, I've never talked to you before.
Yeah, I'm new. I'm new to the party.
When I met Josh at Stuff at South Texas Underground Film Festival, I actually thought I saw you walking around.
There was a guy there that looked like Daniel.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Really? I wouldn't think you would. You don't.
I mean, I guess it depends on the location where you're at. Mm-hmm. Around here, like in the metro area, there's a lot of tall, lanky, bearded men with glasses. But
any hipster area, there's like a look like that. But there was a guy that was walking around that someone else said that too. They were like, "Hey, your buddy's here too from the movie that I saw." And I'm like, "No, unless he's surprising me in Corpus Christi for some reason."
Would that be amazing? I flew all the way down to Texas, did not talk to you intentionally, just
and didn't go to the movie.
No. Right. There was other lineups. I couldn't be bothered.
What was playing that weekend? I was going to say something silly, but I'm sure there was some dumb movies that were playing that weekend.
Oh, I'm sure. I love going to film festivals and seeing all the movies, but there's always the dumb ones. Always the dumb ones.
Yes. So you guys don't live near each other?
We do.
We
live
like 20 and 30 minutes away.
Yeah, 20 minutes from each other.
Yeah.
I'm in the burbs and Dan is like right downtown.
For some reason, I thought you were in Texas, but I know that's not true because we both flew out together on the same airplane.
Yeah,
not
right.
Same airplane, but the same. Yeah.
No, my doppelganger's in Texas. I live here. It's confusing.
Right.
It's weird. Right. Most people think I live in Texas. It's probably because of South by Southwest. I'm always talking about South by Southwest. I go to Austin so often, Corpus Christi, and I'm always talking about it, but nope.
Yeah, Texas has been really good to us, even though we
weirdly good to us.
Before our first film, we had no connection to Texas at all. Neither of us had never been to Texas, and then as far as I know, but yeah,
I had been there one time. I had gone for a wedding.
You had a wedding.
Went to Austin for a wedding, but that was the only time I'd ever been there. And my only memory, besides the wedding was great, whatever, but my only thing I had was attached to in Texas was the fact that Jenny got us kicked out of a bar. And so that was always the running story, was how Jenny got us kicked out of a bar. And then I started going back to Austin with Rebel Without a Crew, and I've been there 10 times a year since then.
Yeah.
So how did you two start to work together? Did you guys know each other before you started making movies?
Craigslist.
Together? All right.
No, it's not Craigslist. We met in kindergarten, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been going on since we were like 5 years old.
Yeah, we met. Daniel and I met in kindergarten. Actually, we met in kindergarten the same year Robert Rodriguez was filming El Mariachi.
Oh, wow.
So at the same time that he was just wrapping production on the movie and in the editing bay, Daniel and I were meeting.
Two boys met.
It was all meant to be.
And the rest was history.
25 years later, he helped us make our first movie. But Daniel and I started making, we would hang out. I almost said we started making love. Daniel and I started.
That came later.
Right.
Daniel and
Years
I
of
started
trust.
as little kids borrowing our parents' video cameras and making movies, when we were wee little boys.
Yeah. Our story isn't too unfamiliar. We were just right at that cusp in the 90s where our parents had affordable video cameras, and that was a go-to. Because our parents owned video cameras, but then they didn't know what the hell to do with them. It was the hip new technology, but they didn't have anything to do. So
this just seems like we should buy this because it's
exactly. Yeah. Keeping up with the Joneses, and then it's we got the first day of school. Now what? And then
Well, there was also this like instant gratification for them where they'd buy the thing and then watch it. They'd be like, oh, we can get all these family memories. But then when do you ever watch it again? Like that like needing to wait 10 years before it actually matters.
Right. You don't want to watch it the next week. Remember, remember last Tuesday when we...
Well, and my dad just asked me if I would convert all the old tapes to digital. I'm like, yeah, of course. And then like a week later, he gets back to me. He's like, yeah, I couldn't find the tapes.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm like, oh, okay.
I have like 2 boxes filled with them and I have no way to convert them because they're all weird, like different types of tapes. Every single company had a different tape. So it's like,
oh yeah.
Okay, I guess I could find that footage of, us at Grandma's cabin with Dad shakily trying to film something and Mom yelling in the background for us to get our clothes on. Like it's never a good video either. Or it's like a kid's play, like our play. Who wants to sit down and watch a whole children's play? You don't even want to be there when it's happening. Nonetheless, watch it retroactively.
Oh, yeah.
So what kind of stuff were you making together back then? Was it horror related or weird? Or I assume it would be weird.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of them were just like, you go.
Well, I think so. Keith, who's also in the film Greywood's Plot, the 3 of us basically did a lot of filmmaking, and we had an alien one. The movie literally.
Oh God! Yes.
It's literally kids playing in a front yard, and then a green Martian walks down the cul-de-sac, like down the street of the suburbs, and we're like, "It's an alien! Quick, get the guns!" And then one of us runs into the house, grabs some guns, like toy guns, and just starts destroying this alien.
And then we just start killing this alien.
And then the next 15 minutes is like a long fight sequence that is aimless and goes nowhere, but it's just us trying to defeat this thing.
There's also a fantastic moment right at the beginning of the movie where Keith's mom was filming it, and Keith had this idea that he had crashed his ship and he was covered in green paint, and he was eating jelly beans, and he's walking down the road and he starts like puking up jelly beans onto the road, but his mom didn't know he was going to be doing this, so she's filming us, and then all of a sudden you just hear, Keith, what are you doing? And then the camera cuts.
I love it. Yeah.
Like in camera cuts, so the whole thing makes the final cut. It's like you just see the camera go down, and yeah. So there's that one, and then we had a murder mystery one that resurfaced not too long ago.
There's actually clips from the murder mystery one at the end of Greywood's Plot.
Oh, really?
There's like a couple little clips of that when it's sort of like flashing back to what we've seen, or us in our youth. And then I think there's one at the beginning as well. But that also is, I think I posted that on YouTube as well, like a little clip from it, or on Instagram or something, just a little piece of it of Daniel and I talking. Or it was in another video. I did it for like a Don't Blink video, which is like the making of The Good Exorcist. At the end of one of those, you can see a clip of Daniel and I acting together at 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Josh was the detective trying to solve the murder. It was like a murder at a fancy, like at a mansion, like the owner was murdered. I was a security guard that was like totally inept because I was an 8-year-old alcoholic. And Josh was the detective trying to solve the mystery. And
And Daniel's idea of an alcoholic at 8 was just to constantly have a giant bottle of vodka in his coat. Like, and I'm talking like a liter of it in his coat that he's constantly just like, oh, it's nothing. No, I don't.
I love it.
It was good.
So that's gonna be pretty cool though, to be making stuff together like at such a young age, and then actually have a movie, have 2 movies out that people are actually watching and seeing at festivals and video on demand, Amazon and everything.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy surreal. Because it's weird because like the people here, I went on Rebel Without a Crew to make my first feature, and then they came along and we just went and did it, and like instantly they think, oh, he picked you because you had something interesting, or you had a couple of short films, but this was you're the first thing you really did. When in reality, Daniel and I have been making stuff since we were little. We never stopped. In high school, we started our own school paper thing, and because we wanted to be the presidents of the school paper, like do like co-presidents, and they told us no. So then we were like, screw it, we'll go make our own paper, which is actually where the name Flush Studios comes from.
Right.
I was going to ask where it did come from. I was going to say,
our high school newspaper was called The Flash, And yeah, I came to Josh one day, like we were both just kicking around, like we should do like our own like parody, like the Onion, sort of like this parody high school newspaper, and call it The Flush. And so we like wrote a bunch of low-key, we secretly wrote a bunch of articles and got them printed, and then we put the newspaper in everyone's locker the night before school the next day, and then yeah, the rest was kind of history.
Yeah. And to be clear, this is at a private high school, like a dorm. We had to like go to this boarding school, so we were at this private boarding high school with like 100 students. I don't know, not very many. Yeah. So it wasn't like we had to print that many, but we printed 100 of them and like handed them out, or put them in the locker.
Yeah, to put a caveat on that, it wasn't a fancy, like, rich private school. It was a religious thing, not a financial thing.
Yeah, it was.
We were sent away to spend time with the Lord, and got into all kinds of shenanigans.
And had you showed them The Good Exorcist, maybe they would.
Oh, they would appreciate it. They would appreciate it.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Sure.
In The Good Exorcist, there's a lot of character. Like the characters are very based on people that we knew growing up in that church and in that school, going to that school.
Yeah. So it did well. They set you guys on the right path.
Yeah. We took that trauma and we turned it into art.
Exactly.
Well, and we used every opportunity we could in school to make a video. We like if we had to do a English assignment, Daniel and I would find a way to turn it into a movie. Or if we had to do, whatever, we had a ton of those little videos, and I would just constantly be running around the dorm with my camera, like pointed in people's faces. I was just that kid. Yeah. And so it just kind of made sense, after we graduated, we just continued doing it. And like maybe, when did we do In Shadows? Like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I just decided like let's try to actually make a short film, like a legit. We'll write a script, like really, really try to do it, and it came out fine. Like it's nothing amazing. It is what it is, but it was like a crazy learning experience. Mm-hmm. And then from there we were just like, well, let's keep making these shorts and keep trying stuff. And we just every like couple of months we'd be like, let's do one, and then. The Good Exorcist.
Well, I think that's an important thing, though, is to actually make something. Because I think a lot of people think, like, hey, I have all these great ideas. Maybe they are great ideas. But if you never actually make them, you're not going to go on to make something else.
Oh, man, someone like the best advice that I've heard that someone said recently, and I don't remember where it was, but it's exactly what I did, was don't make the good thing first.
Right.
We made stuff where we were like, we're not going to be that passionate about this one. Like, we made this short called Chum. That was one of the reasons I got on Rebel Without a Crew, because Robert liked Chum. And that was like, I had rented a camera for work, and because it was the 4th of July weekend, we rented it on a Friday, and I got to keep it Saturday, Sunday, and Monday because of 4th of July. The place wasn't open. So I was just holding on to this camera for the weekend, and I'm like, hey, Daniel, you want to go make a movie? So I just put it on Facebook, and a bunch of people showed up, and we just went and made this movie. I bought that monster mask online for like $40 or something, and we just made it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, what do you think the benefits of making a short? Because I would assume there's a lot of things there. It's the practice of making something. It's gets your name out there if you start doing festivals. I would assume it helps your confidence that you could actually make something bigger. So what do you think the benefits of making the shorts are?
For me personally, it's the practice is huge, but it's also like the ability to show people that you can do something, because a lot of times trying to convince people to come onto a project, especially a feature, is really challenging. Like it's really hard to convince people that they should put in that kind of time. So doing the shorts is a good way to prove that. And like you said, the film festivals, a feature is so hard right now to get into a festival. Like you have to basically make a film that's perfect for their festival. You also have to have some in with them, because they have 100 friends now that their movies are going to get in first before yours. Right. So like you have to curate your film specifically for the festivals if you want to get in, especially when you're doing like low or no budget ones. But the shorts, there's huge blocks for them. There's tons of festivals you can get into. So it's a way to get to festivals, meet people, and like get something out there.
Yeah, we kind of took a hiatus, like doing any major filmmaking until we did our feature. And we both naively were like, oh man, people are going to be like, festivals will be dying for more feature films. That's not the case at all.
No.
Like they have like every major and most minor festivals only have like, 5 to 10 slots for features, and then it's 30, 40 shorts. And so we were actually at a crazy disadvantage where we really had to find, places like South Texas Underground, places that, really wanted to take a chance on a feature that had no actors, had no names, had, a no budget film. So
and
I think
wasn't really a genre. It was like a weird genre too, because it's a comedy movie. The Good Exorcist is a comedy first, and then more of a parody of horror. So horror festivals would watch it and be like, this doesn't have enough blood, and it's like, okay, we know it does it. That's not the point. Like we want to make something a little different, but they don't want something a little different, and that's okay because their audience may not. They know what their audience wants more than we do, but we were just naive to the fact that even if you take a risk on something different and weird, then festivals don't necessarily like to take that kind of risk.
Yeah, the festivals I like show a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily fit into any genre. So it's kind of
right.
And I think that's a hard sell for a lot of things, but for like the underground festivals, I think that for me that's appealing.
And that's what we got into. The Good Exorcist got into underground festivals, as did Greywood's. Like Greywood's, the festivals that we were getting into were ones that weren't a lot of horror festivals were like, we love the movie, we love the second half. The audience isn't going to get this. They're not going to come because it's black and white. It starts out goofy and like a boy's adventuring in the woods. Like they're not going to understand what this is. But they're like, but we love it. Like, don't get us wrong. It's like, so the festivals we got into were the ones that were like, or, that a lot of them didn't end up happening because of COVID, but, which is why I'm doing the online screening, because I want people to see it like with other people, even if it has to be digitally in a community.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience. I know obviously that it's best to show at the festivals, but we did an online a short film festival on the group, and just the interaction adds so much to the experience.
Even it does. It's one thing to like put it on Amazon and let people watch it or whatever, and that's great. I love that with The Good Exorcist, that we're getting views and people are like commenting, liking it, coming to me on Twitter and saying how much they enjoyed it. But like, it's not the same as being in the moment with people and having that interaction online, on Twitter, on YouTube as it's happening. That's why Joe Bob is doing so well right now, is like being able to go on Twitter and talk with people while you're watching it. Oh, it's amazing. So that's kind of the experience I wanted with this. But yeah, it's the same thing for us. Both of these movies, we didn't want to make something that fell into a specific one genre. My favorite movies are the ones that kind of teeter back and forth. So
and I think that's a benefit to doing short films first as well, is if you do make a name for yourself, you do carve that niche, you do find your voice, and you can build the momentum off of that. I think we were fortunate enough, because Josh and I have such a long history, we knew kind of exactly what this was going to be, even if people weren't ready for it or didn't understand it or didn't expect it. So I think, doing short films first can help, new voices sort of, find their footing and move forward. But we
and be honest with themselves. And be honest with themselves about what they want to do. Like to be honest, like as crappy as it was not getting into some festivals with The Good Exorcist that we, submitted to, also talking to people later, everyone says you only get into like 20 to 30% of the festivals you submit to. And it's like, wow, man, I hate wasting money when I could be putting it into another movie. But, going to festivals with a short can teach you like, oh, I like this kind of horror, and it gets into these kind of festivals. So it kind of can build your, proper mentality of what kind of films you want to make in the future. Which honestly, these two movies, Greywood's Plot and The Good Exorcist, have kind of taught Dan and I think that we do, we'd love to get into festivals and stuff. We also want to really say what we want to say. If that's not going to get into a festival, okay, so be it. We want to make our movies and have our voice.
Yeah. So for people who don't know what Rebel Without a Crew is, can you guys explain what that is and how you got involved?
Yeah, Rebel Without a Crew is a reality show that Robert Rodriguez put on, where he hired or brought out 5 filmmakers, myself included, to make a feature film for $7,000 and shot in 14 days, just like El Mariachi. And it was for the 25th anniversary of El Mariachi. So Daniel and I wrote this script, The Good Exorcist, and Robert liked it and picked it up. And I submitted, so I actually got another cartoon on the El Rey network, and that's how I ended up talking to them and eventually being able to finding out about the show. And then they asked me when they did the full casting call, they asked me to submit an application. So I did. And they asked if I had a script because they liked my application. And I told them yes, which was a lie. I didn't have a script. So Daniel and I took 2 weeks, but I asked them, I was like, I have a script, but is there any way I could get a couple weeks to clean it up? It's kind of rough and I want to make it okay for the $7,000 budget. And they were like, yeah, sure. Take 2 weeks. That's fine. And then Daniel and I just sat down. I was like, dude, you're either going to be a clown or a priest because I don't want you to have to change costumes all the time. I don't want to have to worry about the consistency of or like being.
And he happens to have a priest and a clown costume, apparently.
Right. Yeah. I have both. So it was up to Josh.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Vulgar?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this movie Vulgar, it's about a clown that gets raped, and I don't know, it's insane. But I really like that movie, and I'm like, Dan, a clown would be fun, like some story with a clown. A clown does something, and I thought it'd be fun for Daniel to be in clown makeup with the beard and like whatever. And clowns were hot at the time, like it was all over the internet at that moment. Yeah. But it instantly, Daniel was like, I have a suit and I don't really want to wear makeup. I don't know if he actually said that, but that was sort of the vibe I got from him was like, let's go with the priest thing.
I'm like, yeah, we could do a clown, but we could also do the priest thing. And I think that was just more in our wheelhouse. It's like, I think like we discussed earlier, coming from our backgrounds, growing up in religion, we knew we had like one thing, like sort of our dogma or our whatever, like we had one thing to say about religion in some form, and I'm like, let's just do it now and get it out of our system, and if it's great, if it's terrible, then it's done. And so I think that was more so my thought. Whereas clowns, I'm like, I don't really have much to say about clowns at the moment, but who's to say?
Yeah, and I think also, we know a lot lot about,
it's something
demons and church and religion and all of that stuff. We grew up in a very religious background, so we were like, you know what? If we have to be like really on our toes and think fast with this movie, the one thing we can think fast or make fun of is that. Like we can make priest jokes that aren't just pedophile jokes, like the easy things. We could do something goofier than that, and that's what we tried to do, was go goofier with the religious jokes.
Yeah. I like that about it because I always mention on the podcast that that's like the easiest thing. Anytime you see a priest in a movie, he's going to be a pedophile or something like
right.
It's never just like a good guy, generally a good guy.
And that's what we wanted. We went the opposite way. We're like, you know what? We want to make this priest like a total goofy, fun, lovable character in his own way, and so we just rolled with that because you just don't see that. And
you don't see with the clown either. Actually, they're always a demon, or
that's true,
a drunk or something. And Santa Claus. Those are the three things.
The priest outfit, that's your wedding suit, isn't it, Daniel?
Yeah.
So we had that.
We had that going for us. Yeah. So I had the wedding, I had the suit, and then we just bought like a collared shirt on Amazon for like $10.
Oh, I thought maybe you got married in that as well.
Right, yeah. I officiated my own wedding.
All right. Save money that way.
Well, money that way. That the clerical collar or whatever, the little white thing on there, that's 90% of the time in the movie, that's just a piece of paper. Daniel just rip up a piece of paper and put it in there.
Yeah.
It works.
I would lose it was just a piece of plastic that came with it, and I would lose it after like we would finish shooting for the day, and then I'd lose it that next morning, and like 50%, like 90% of the time it was in one of my pockets, like in my pants pocket. But it's like, we don't have time, quick, grab a piece of paper, let's just put a piece of paper in there and go. And like, all right. And then by lunch I'd be like, oh, it's in my pocket, okay. Losing it.
So did they stick to the $7,000 budget? Like, they weren't lenient on that or anything?
Oh, dear God, yes, they did. They were like, everything was like, every time I bought something, Daniel went and bought a birthday cake. He bought a birthday cake for Brittany Ortiz, who plays Maria in the movie. And he bought the cake, and they tried to take it out of my budget because we were eating it. And I was like, but Daniel went and bought the cake for a friend. It's a friend cake.
Right. It's a friendship cake on my card. It was fine. But yeah, no, they were strict for sure.
And then, but I mean, in reality, the movie didn't cost $7,000. Like if
Right.
I had to rent a camera, I would never rent a camera. I own cameras. I had to rent my lights. I would never, I wouldn't rent those. I have tons of lights. So there was like stuff that I had to rent. I had to pay to film at the location. Like I had to rent to film at the Star Hill Ranch, which is fine, but I would never write a movie at a place that I had to rent. I wrote the movie originally in a bed and breakfast, not a ranch. And the reason I wrote a bed and breakfast is because we have a ton of houses in Minnesota that are beautiful, big houses that could be a bed and breakfast. So, in fact, one of the places I actually originally, when we did Rebel Without a Crew, we had to pick out our locations from a box or from a binder. And one of the locations I originally picked instead of the Star Hill Ranch was the house that Bonnie used for Grandma's house. So Grandma's house was almost the bed and breakfast for The Good Exorcist. But then after I decided I was going to go with the ranch, I handed her that house and was like, "Oh, you take this one. This is more for you than me."
Yeah. We were. I mean, we were fortunate because we knew, when we told them we had a script and we didn't, we were then able to sort of, build things. Okay, we know that we only have $7,000, so let's do one location. Let's do one, priest character or clown, and let's just build around our budget and keep it within our means. So it was originally our bed and breakfast, and then once Josh got to Austin, they didn't have too many places that looked like that.
No,
that had that big feel.
Well, and the funny thing is the church that you see at the beginning of The Good Exorcist is actually at the Star Hill Ranch. So we just had to film around it. So I originally went to the Star Hill Ranch just to check out the church. And when I got there, I'm like, oh my God, look at all these beautiful houses. And this is like a perfect. I'm rewriting my whole script. I'm going to change it and make it this because it just makes way more sense. So I hadn't planned on filming at that. I had 2 houses picked out. There were 2 churches. I didn't even go to the second church because I saw that church and I'm like, well, this is the opening shot of the movie. Like, we got to see Father Gill come out of this church. This is gorgeous. And so, we just adapted to it from the beginning, and once we started filming, we adapted at both points. And I mean, a lot of the movie is legitimately me just looking around the room and picking out items. Like, I just went like, I've got a Bible, killer Bible. I've got this red telephone, killer telephone. I've got this, Jenny's got this teddy bear. And originally the teddy bear, Jenny had that cool pink old looking teddy bear. I'm like, oh my God, I want to make this a demon. And so I wrote it into the script. I fell in love with the scene. And then Jenny's mom is like, oh, I bought that for Jenny when she was 1 year old because I always wanted a pink teddy bear when I was a kid. So now I wanted to give my daughter a teddy bear. So I was like, crap. So I hunted on eBay, Amazon. I went to like every store I could, and I couldn't find a teddy bear that looked that perfect. So eventually I just went to Jenny. I'm like, hey, can I use this? She's like, yeah, the teddy bear. Yeah, it's yours.
Did she get it back after?
It's sitting.
We mailed the head.
The head is sitting right next to me right now. When I was in Austin, I actually would drive around with that teddy bear head on my dashboard.
Well, once the movie's finished, did they help get the movie out there? Like, what did they do once the movie's over?
I mean, I'm wearing the El Rey shirt right now. I love El Rey to death, but I'm going to be straight with you. They didn't do jack shit. They put it out on El Rey Network. Well, the problem was the show was developed for this network called Go 90, which was Verizon's streaming service. And the original plan was they were going to stream the show on Go 90 once a week. A new episode would come out, and then the week after the last episode aired, they were going to screen all of the movies. They were going to show every one of them. And the last week of Rebel Without a Crew, Go 90 went out of business, and they never screened our movies. They never went up. They never did anything with them. Yeah. And so then it was this whole legal debacle where we were just like, well, what do we do now? And we, El Rey held on to them for a while and kept the rights. And then what was it, last October, November, something like that? They called me and they were like, hey, man, we know you want the rights back. I mean, I was a jerk about it. I was a total asshole, constantly messaging people and being like, so what's happening with the rights to the movie? And they messaged me and they were like, hey, so we're going to keep the right to air it. We can play it on El Rey whenever we want. We can do screenings of it if it blows up or whatever, but we're going to give you the rights back and you could do whatever you want with it. So, and that was in November. So Daniel and I just decided, you know what, that we've been sitting on this movie for a year and a half now. Let's just get it out. So we put it out on Amazon Prime. We put it out wherever we could. And then Lloyd Kaufman saw it, or Lloyd's Troma saw it, and they were like, I'd been doing some work on their movies, and they were like, hey man, we like this. Would you be interested in putting it on Troma now and letting Troma do some stuff with it? Of course, that's a dream come true to be with Troma. So now it's out on Troma now, and it's got the Lloyd Kaufman stamp of approval.
Yeah. What's the feedback been like for The Good Exorcist since it's been out there?
Oh, it's been awesome. Like it's been the highs and the lows. Like it's been both. Either people love it and they get it and they're just like, oh my God, I laughed so hard. This is so great. Like, I can't believe you guys did this for like next to nothing. It's awesome. Or the people who are like, who the hell gave them $7,000 to make this garbage horror movie?
Right.
Because a lot of people think it's a horror movie, and they go into it expecting The Exorcist, and then it opens the way it does, and they're like, this is cheesy and like B-movie-ish, and it's campy, and it's like...
And we're like, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. We're like...
Well,
I don't see what the problem is here.
Exactly. Right. I would say Daniel has a wrestling shirt. I'm a big wrestling fan too, but that's always the what you want though. You want people like on the extremes. You want people to love something or hate it. You don't want people just be like whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly what I always say. Is like when someone is like their feedback is like, yeah, it was it was good. That's like the worst thing you could say to me. Like that kills me every time someone says
I knew we were doing something good when we had fans, but I knew we made it when we had haters. You know,
yes,
it's the truth. Like
what was that one review that we got on Amazon? What was it like?
Oh man,
Crock of the title is Crock of, and then the
dot.
And then the subject just says poo.
Poo.
Yeah, poo.
which is funnier if they just use poo, I think.
Yep.
Right. They went all out on that one. No, it's been good though. It's funny. I mean, reviews are what they are, but I think the craziest thing is we've just had so many personal connections and personal moments with people that have kind of blown our mind. Stuff that you don't think about. Like one of the first times we showed the film locally here was at a lovely little niche theater, a small theater that does this kind of thing, and a guy who lived next door literally saw the marquee out his window and it just said The Good Exorcist. He knew nothing about the film and he's like, The Good Exorcist, that sounds like a great movie. So he like put his pants on, walked over. This is his telling of the story.
That is his words. He's like, I was making rice and I had to put my pants on and come down.
He just walked over to the theater, bought a ticket, bought some popcorn, and watched the whole thing. Loved it, and like complete stranger. Like we knew nothing about this guy. He knew nothing about our film, and he came up to us afterwards and was like, "That was phenomenal." He's
and
like,
and immediately was like, when are you guys going to release this? Because I really want to show my friends. My friends are going to love this. And then I actually ran into that dude at Target like not that long ago.
Really?
And he remembered me and was like, dude, I freaking can't wait for Greywood's plot. Like I've seen it on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, and I'm super excited for it. I need to get a copy of The Good Exorcist still. I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy. Like, this guy remembers me from that screening. And dug the movie enough to actually remember. That's huge. Like,
well, and we had strangers come to the Greywoods premiere here, and then they came up to Josh at a convention.
Yeah,
they were from
like Norway,
Sweden?
or they were in Norway or Sweden or something, and they came up and they were
Norway.
We're really big in Norway.
I had the dog mask sitting next to me at the con, and they come up and they're like, "We saw your movie," and I was, they said we've seen this. And I was like, yeah, you've seen this. Like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
They're like, no, we've seen this. We've seen this movie. And I was like, you've seen, this is from my movie. This is from Greywood's plot. They're like, yes, we've seen Greywood's plot. We saw it at Twin Cities Film Fest. We loved it. It's so good. We actually came to this con to come see you and get The Good Exorcist. I was like, what?
That's awesome.
So
like,
that's insanity.
So bizarre. So it's like stuff like that. You're like, okay, we're doing something. I mean, it's tapping into something, which is rad.
And Greywood's has been even better. Like I've sent it out to some people. When COVID hit, I was like, hey man, if anyone wants to see it, I'll send you a screener. Like I'm not, I have a job. I make these movies for me. I don't need to make a ton of money off of them. If we make enough to make the next one, that's like the dream, is that we can just continually fund these things.
Yeah. You see my room. I'm not doing this for the money. If you can.
Well,
I've got my Mickey's poster on the wall.
I'm remodeling.
We need
my
money
kitchen,
for like
so.
beard oil.
Right, that's it.
Bombs.
This is the money maker here. As long as this is shiny and bright, then we're good.
Right.
On to the next one.
I was gonna say,
May
your
31st.
beard is looking. It's looking wonderfully long, Dan. Like
good.
especially long.
I know.
I guess maybe that's partly because I've been staring at Doug Greywood's, which was like you trimming down the beard, like to a slightly uncomfortably small level.
Yeah. My character work is all just beard length. It's in shapes.
It's hair and beards. Like that's what you do. Dan is just like, okay, I'm gonna do this for Doug. That's literally what he did though. He showed up. He's like, hey man, I've got some ideas for Doug Greywood. I had no idea what his ideas were. His ideas were shave his head and use a like thick northern Minnesotan or northern Michigan accent, which is like, if you read Doug Greywood's, like if you read him on the page, he's like he has a southern voice. Like it doesn't sound like that. And then Daniel just came with this like Minnesota. The first time he did it, he's like, I'm gonna try something. Don't freak out. I was like, okay, let's hear it. And then he does the voice, and I'm like, I started laughing, but I'm like, dude, we got to roll with that now. That's too good not to. Half of the reason, or the half of Dan and my like working together, the way we work together is like, how can we shock each other in any moment? And I think that plays on screen because I'm constantly like, okay, how can I, make Daniel do something weird here? And he's like, how can I make Josh go, what's that? What are you doing? Like Daniel, one day we were filming that opening sequence of Greywood's plot. Daniel, we walked to the cabin and we were going to film in the cabin and it was infested with flies. It was so hot and so nasty. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, we're not filming in there today. That's too gross. And Daniel's like, no, come on, let's do it. Let's go film in there. I'm like, what? I'm like, there's no way we're going to sit in there. He's like, no, just one shot. I'll sit down in the chair and you film me. And we had no idea where we were going to use it in the movie. It didn't really have any like pragmatic purpose to the film necessarily, like as the script was written or as the idea was conceived. But then like when I was cutting the movie, I'm like, oh, this is the opening of the movie. This is so good.
Just sitting on a couch alone, swarmed by like actual flies.
Oh, they were nasty too. They were all over, and the place reeked. Like this dead fly has a smell, like a nasty smell.
So I saw Greywood's plot before I saw The Good Exorcist.
Okay, yeah.
So it's May 31st. You guys are going to do a live, well, not live, but you guys are going to screen it on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're doing a screening via YouTube, but it's an unlisted link. So people have to go to, at joshstifter.com, you can buy a ticket, and then it's $3 or $2.99, and then you buy a ticket, and then you, on the day, I'll send you the unlisted link, and hope that people don't spread it, or, send it to your friend. I don't care if you send it to your friend, but like not put it online so everyone can see it. And what we're going to do is 12 hours in advance, I'll start running a pre-show, and then at 8 p.m. Central Time, we'll screen the movie, and then afterwards, Dan and I will do a Q&A where we answer the questions that people asked on Twitter and in the YouTube
chat. Oh, that's
chat.
really cool.
Yeah, so it's going to be a Q&A with the audience that we can kind of curate the questions that we, think are ones that people will really care about, and, and people can actually be thinking about them as they're watching. The difference between like most film festivals is you watch the movie and then at the end you have to try to come up with a question.
Right.
And it's you can have like 30 questions throughout the movie, but you totally forget them as you go. So people can actually be asking them as we go, and Daniel and I will be monitoring it and deciding which ones we want to do, and then we'll just do a cool Q&A at the end.
That's really cool. So
I can guarantee I won't give you a good answer unless I get the question a little bit beforehand.
Right. So you can think about the answer as well.
Kind of think about those answers. Yeah.
So when did you guys start to do Greywood's plot?
Oh, that's an interesting story. So Greywood's plot, we actually started before The Good Exorcist. We filmed for my 31st birthday. Like when I turned 30, the only thing on my bucket list, my whole life, the only thing on my bucket list has been to make a feature film. Like that's all I've ever wanted to do. And then I turned 30 and I was like, oh my God, I'm 30 and I haven't done the one thing I want to do. So I started writing like a scriptment, coming up with this idea and like putting it together. In fact, this coming week, 4 years ago, was the first time I brought up Greywood's to Keith. I had asked him this week when he came over. I know this because we filmed something the following week, like a test thing. So a test video. But so anyway, I had started coming up with this idea. And then for my 31st birthday, I convinced Daniel, Keith, and our buddy Strauss. Well, I didn't convince Strauss. He just showed up.
He didn't need any convincing.
He tagged along with Daniel. Daniel like messaged me as he's like leaving to come. He's like, "Hey, is it cool if Strauss comes too?" I'm like, "More the merrier." And the coincidental thing being, Strauss became basically my assistant director. Like he's my right hand man. I owe everything to him. we wouldn't have finished this movie without Strauss. He made the costumes. He made the cowl that you see in the movie. Strauss did that himself. He didn't know how to do it before. He figured it out off YouTube videos and did it. But we started filming that, and then we looked at the footage, and there was a lot of beautiful footage, but there wasn't a movie in it. Like, we didn't have a movie in what we filmed over those 6 days. There was a cool concept, and there was some okay performances, but it just was a mess. And so we kind of like...
We had gone into the woods with like we were doing more of a scriptment approach. We had note cards. What Greywoods is now, there was probably like 70% of that in the initial iteration or the initial concept, and we just were shooting scenes, moments, trying to find that lightning in a bottle. And we actually came out with a lot of really good like B-roll stuff, but the meat and potatoes was a little lacking, and it didn't have a feature like length to it in that iteration,
and it didn't have the like coherence of what we eventually were able to do. Like there was no like the actual point of the movie, like the actual element of friendship and that stuff sort of evolved from that filming, because we saw what it was becoming. Like that scene where Keith and I are sitting on the hay bale talking about our favorite animal.
It's one of my favorite scenes, which I mentioned to you at stuff.
Oh yeah, and that was one that Keith and I improv'd the first time we did it. We just improv that conversation, and then I liked the conversation, but it was clunky. It was like like how people talk when they're, it's not worded properly. It doesn't move at a nice flow. So I sat down and just wrote that scene based on what we had said, Keith's response. And then honestly, like originally I was supposed, or I don't want to, probably shouldn't spoil it, but whatever. The monster that you see at the end of the movie was meant to be a Spider-Man, not what it is. Mm-hmm. So when we started talking about the friend element and how friendship plays a big part of it, that ended up changing from a Spider-Man to what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just as a movie, I think when you get to really like the characters, what happens to them, or it just makes it that much more powerful, and you're rooting for them to do well, and it just adds so much more to the movie. Because you were saying earlier about some people will watch the beginning and not really, this isn't a horror movie; it's just like a buddy movie. But without that, whatever happens, would not be the same.
Right, and that was the big thing that we wanted to make sure we did, was we wanted to really put characters into it. I'm like a huge character movie fan. I love movies with characters, and that's basically all we had. We didn't have, when we first went to do this, we had us. So it was like, okay, let's just put our friendship on screen. Like the idea of me asking Keith to go in the woods and film a chupacabra is not that crazy from reality. But like that could happen. Yeah. So like we definitely rolled with what we knew and what it would be like. And then when we started writing it, when we actually came back after doing The Good Exorcist and we're like, okay, we can make a feature film. And it was like one of our last days on filming The Good Exorcist, I turned to Daniel and I was like, dude, we got to do it, man. We got to go back and do Greywoods. Like it's hurting me right now that we didn't finish it, even though The Good Exorcist wouldn't have happened if we had finished it. I felt like I was missing something in that movie because I loved the story so much. I loved the character of Doug Greywoods. I loved the character of Dom. I loved what that movie was going to be. Mm-hmm. So then as soon as I finished The Good Exorcist, like literally the week that I sent it in, I started writing again on Greywood's plot. And then, I kind of went back and forth trying to figure out what I wanted to change and how I wanted to do it. And then I took a week, wrote it, and then we went and started filming like 2 weeks later, like right away, we just got on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quick. And the thing about that worked for us with The Good Exorcist is it really taught us, it kind of informed who we were as filmmakers and writers, because when we initially did Greywoods in the woods for the 31st birthday, we just assumed, like Josh had mentioned, we were really into characters and character study films, and which most independent films are, low budget independent films are. So we assumed, we just had this idea that it was going to be a mumblecore, make it up as we go sort of thing. And we needed a script in order to get into The Good Exorcist and to make that happen. So we had to put the words on the page. And then we were shocked that everything we were writing ended up on screen. And so we're like, maybe we're not, we just weren't as strong of improvisers as we thought we were. So I think Greywood's benefited immensely because we're like, okay, no, we can't just we can't roll the camera and expect the words to come out. We really need to like tap into who we are, what the conversations that we're having, and then put that on the screen. And so that helped immensely because and especially with the writer's block, anytime we were stuck, it was like, well, what would we say in real life? And we're like, oh yeah, we would just say this. I'm like, perfect, put it in.
Yeah, and with that being said, like, we are actually surprisingly good improvisers, and I think the problem is the fact that sometimes when you think when you try to improvise, you fail.
It's something that just has to happen.
When it happens, we can do it. So when we have a script and we have these words, the script isn't even that close to the movie, like how we say it, how we do things. Like we improvise jokes, we improvise lines like crazy, but at least we have the thing that we need to say that we can build on. And a lot of times it's like a lot of the stuff that made it into the movie that was improvised was stuff that's just like us being us, because we could be comfortable being us, because we didn't have to think about like, okay, how do we keep the story moving? The story was there. The story moves itself. Now we get to be comfortable in our skin and be us.
Yeah. Totally.
When you mentioned earlier about the Chupacabra, and because my short Umbilicus Desidero played with Greywood's plot, and so I just read the description, beforehand. I didn't know anything. And I was like, oh, that's cool. We're playing with a Chupacabra movie, and it's not really a Chupacabra movie, but is that hard though to write like a description for the movie because you don't want to give away the movie?
Yeah, and it's the trailer is even
movies,
harder.
Yes, both movies do not lend themselves to like taglines, synopsis, trailers, like.
And I think someone has compared our style of filmmaking to like Christopher Guest. We have a very Christopher Guest style of like the story is important, but the moment is kind of the key in every place you go, and that's kind of how Christopher Guest works. And Christopher Guest movies are exactly the same way, where it's like, how do you describe Best in Show? It's about people who go to a dog show. It's like that's not what it is.
Basically, that's where it's set, but not really what it's about.
And
Spinal Tap's about a rock band. Enough said.
and Greywood's plot's especially hard because in my head, like that first moment that you see Doug Greywood's, it's so off. Like he with his accent and with everything else, and I loved it so much, and it was so hard for me to let go of the fact that I need to let people know who Doug is. So I've learned to do that, and you hear more of Doug in this new trailer that I posted, and there's a little bit more about the movie.
About the
Right, yeah. As much as you want to like leave something to the element of surprise, it's like you need to.
Me personally, I like to go into a movie with like knowing nothing about it, but I know I'm also in the minority, and most people need to know a little bit of something before they watch something.
Especially with an independent movie like this, no one's just going to go hunt it down. Like no one's going to be excited to see this without knowing what they're about to see. And I realized like watching it with an audience, even if I told them in advance. Like everyone that went to the screening at Twin Cities Film Festival knew what it was. Like even the spoilery things that happen in it, they knew all that. And yet it almost made it harder for them to watch, or like more surprising, because they're like on this journey with the characters, and they just, I think they go, oh, this isn't what he was saying. He's blowing it way out of proportion. And like when it's such a strange, weird movie that you have to see it to get it. And so I don't feel like spoiling it is actually really possible. You can spoil plot points, but you gotta see it to really get it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And Daniel, I love how calm you are in the movie. I think that's more unsettling.
Oh, thanks.
Well, obviously, I was saying more unsettling than what you do, but that's probably not accurate. But
sure, right.
But yeah, it is. I just like the calmness.
Thank you. That was something we had talked about too. It just like, so comparing, I got a question at one of the screenings, like how difficult it was for me to do Father Gill for The Good Exorcist, who's like this crazy eccentric priest, and to do Doug Greywood, who's like this calm but also kind of kooky madman, without saying too much. And it really didn't feel too different personally, because Josh and I just like to do characters that really like believe, like have these strong wills and these strong convictions in what they're doing. And so much of those characters both like are cut from the same cloth, but it was more like two sides of the same coin, where whenever I was doing a scene as Father Gill, as this priest that you're supposed to relate to, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to do like be warm and like a little strange, but also like, I don't know, some mystery behind it. And then whereas Doug was like, just let's do like all mystery, but like this weird calmness to it. And, but also like also keep him warm. Like, you know, you still kind of want to like the guy the whole way through. Otherwise, you know, what's the point, I guess? I don't know. We just were like, had a lot of fun playing around with both like dynamics of these characters. And yeah, I intentionally try to stay calm and not blink a whole lot.
Yeah, that was one of my
what happens.
That was one of my favorite things is Daniel would be doing a take and all of a sudden he would like stop. He'd like, oh, I got to do it again. And I'm like, what? That was a great take. He's like, no, I blinked. I'm like, dude, you can blink once in the movie. And he does have some of those. But my favorite moments, I think the reason Doug works so well to me and why I love that character so much is he can say the creepiest thing and then immediately follow it up with like the goofiest thing. So it's like, and that's Daniel just like improvising stuff. The goofy stuff is a lot of times Daniel just like being silly or being whatever. And it worked into the character really well because of the fact that like at any other movie, they would have made this guy a total creep. Like they just, it's really tough to have that blend. But we were like, let's try it. I mean, worst case scenario, we edit the movie so he is a creep the whole time, and we get rid of a lot of those lines. But they just worked.
Yeah, if there's something about him that's likable on some level too, it's like it makes more sense that these guys would trust him at all, even though there's clearly something a little bit off. But he seems like a good guy at the same time.
It's like one of my favorite lines was Daniel's. I think it was maybe was it improvised or not? I don't remember if it was improvised. But that line where you're like, have you boys ever seen a moose before?
Oh,
it's majestic.
No.
It's majestic. And Keith's in the background just staring at him like, what the hell? Like, I love that line so much because it's so like, it's not creepy. He says, have you ever seen a moose before? They're majestic. Like, that's not a creepy thing to say. But his like passion behind it is creepy. I don't know. It's this beautiful blend.
I have not seen a moose before in person, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
I heard
we haven't either, unfortunately.
They're majestic.
They're majestic.
Yeah. How about that? Go on,
it was fun. Oh no, I was just saying, I think that was in the script, but we were at that point I was so honed in. I'm like, and this is the way he would deliver it, you know, just so like charming, but also alarming.
Or like that, Daniel's got that line where he goes, I say, yeah, we had a few drinks, or we had a couple drinks, and he's like, a few looks like a fucking 6-pack. And that line just like kills me because that was Daniel just being an idiot. Like that was not written. That was just Daniel. It wasn't even like supposed to be filmed. Like that was me just rolling on random stuff. And it has gotten a laugh at every screening. It always works for people. And I love that line. There was a dude at South Texas Underground who came up to me afterwards and he's like, a fucking 6-pack. He loved it so much. I was like, yes, I knew it should stay.
I'm learning to love it.
By the way, South Texas Underground Film Festival is a great, and I'm not just because I have the shirt on, but it was a great festival, one of my favorites. And, and the people put on are amazing, the Perez family.
Yeah, it was awesome. And they curate the movies really well. They put they put your movie before mine. They played a couple shorts that all fit like really well with Greywood's plot. And it was super fun. Yeah.
How about that title, Greywood's plot? Because it could be like the plot of Land, or this is, Doug Greywood's plot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess that was the intent when I wrote that name originally. The name came pretty much before anything. Like I started writing my note cards out because how I write a script is I take 40 note cards, or I take 50 note cards. I get a pack of 50, and I have to fill each of them with a scene. So I start just writing scenes where I'm like, okay, I know I want a scene where Dom and Miles see a spider monster on the ground and they don't know what it is. So I write that scene out and I put that in Act 2 somewhere. And then I write, okay, I know I want a surgery scene. So I write that note card and I put it somewhere. And then I slowly just sort of like try to piece these scenes I want to do together. And like, how would this flow? How would the whole thing come together as a bigger picture? What do we need to see to know the full story? And what is unnecessary? Like, what can I cut out? So then I start removing note cards, putting stuff away. But my first note card, I remember I wrote Greywood's plot and I put a picture of a Black Widow spider on it.
Mm-hmm.
And because the original intent was the monster was going to be a Spider-Man, and the fear of spiders, like arachnophobia, was going to play a big part of the movie. Like one of my themes was originally fear of fear in general, but especially fear of stupid little things, like things that don't really matter that much or aren't really something you can have much control over. And so that card got written first. So yeah, great. I assume, I honestly don't remember. I assume my idea was that, like, we have a plot of land. I knew it was all going to take place on one plot of land, but also this is his plot, his scheme, like his idea.
Yeah, that was totally from the jump. And I think we were like, we wrote it down and we were probably going to change it, and then we didn't. And I think we initially didn't have Greywood's. Doug wasn't in the movie as much as he is now.
Very little. Very
so,
little.
I think that also that title was supposed to be there just to let people know, like, it's kind of his movie, even though you don't, he's always in the shadows, he's always around. I was supposed to come in a little bit earlier and like plant this seed of doubt between the friends and then kind of disappear.
Yes, that's right.
And then sort of like you would kind of see me working behind the scenes, and then we just it just made more sense to have me more prominent. And so, yeah, but that was the point of the name of the title.
And I totally forgot this, but there was originally a scene that I had in the note cards that I still think would have been a fantastic scene if it would have worked itself in some way. But from the beginning, I knew I wanted Home on the Range to be in it. For some reason, I just had some connection with that song at the time, and it's always stuck, and it's stuck in the movie. Like Scarlett did a version of Home on the Range that it plays at the beginning of the movie and at the end that I really, really love. But originally Home on the Range was in the movie as a song that Doug comes out to the fire while they're having a campfire and plays Home on the Range, or really? He brings out a guitar and then we sing Home on the Range together. And that would have been a really awesome, creepy, or like awkwardly fun scene if Doug and Miles and Dom were all sitting around singing Home on the Range by the fire. But it just didn't make sense in the movie when all was said and done. So that got cut.
Yeah. Would you ever want to revisit the character?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God. It's without spoiling too much, it's only the first half of the Frankenstein story. We need the second half of the Frankenstein. Like, my dream is to be able to do the second half when the townspeople find out about Greywood's and his plot.
Right.
You need people with torches.
We do. We need the torch. We need the torches, and that's what is the like Josh and Dan Flush Studios version of people with torches? Like I want to see that movie. So
I think without spoiling, like this movie ends. It's a little more of a full ending. Like it ends the story, but we're always like messing around with what are these characters going to do next, whether it's Good Exorcist or this one or whatever else we're doing. We're always like looking for like a backdoor reason to revisit everything.
And I'm a huge fan of the idea that like the end of the movie isn't the end of the story. So I even if we never go back to Greywood's, I like the fact that you can take away from it what you want. And I like asking people that after they watch it, like, what do you think happens next? And hearing their responses is amazing. And that's me just trying to come up with ideas because I got nothing. No, I do.
But that's a good one.
We even had a name. We were thinking about calling it Greywood's Providence, which I thought was a cool name.
Yeah, we definitely are always kicking around. Well, what if they do this, or what if we go and do that? And I think you'll definitely see them again in some capacity for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well as Father Gill. I mean, I would be shocked if I'm working on comics right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you mentioned comics on Facebook, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have comics coming out. Like they're just mini adventures of Father Gill pre The Good Exorcist. But I've been writing the hell out of the sequel, which is called Father Gill and the Daughters of Lilith. And there's 2 scenes in that script that are by far my favorite things I've ever written. Like like seriously love them. And like if I don't make them, I will be so upset, because just part of the, like, one of the things for me personally is I make these movies just so I can watch them. Like, I really do like to watch these movies, and it's fun for me to see, especially like Greywood's is a little weird because I'm in it, so watching myself is a little bit like, oh, Joshy boy. Right. But like watching Dan and Keith act in stuff, it kills me. Like, I love it. And Strauss, the guy who was like my AD, who has helped us with everything on the movie, he's the fly man that they almost hit with the car, and we call him, I think in the credits he's credited as Igor.
Yeah, he's our Igor.
Yeah. In fact, there was a line originally where you call him Igor, but I cut that out because I was like, man, that's too on the nose. We went too far. Reel it back.
So are you guys working on anything currently? I don't know if it's even possible, I guess. But...
I am. I'm filming a movie called Scumbag by myself in my basement. Wow. And it was an idea
I'm in my
I had...
basement right now. But yeah.
Me too, actually. I'm in my basement as well.
I also am in my basement.
Are you seriously? We're all in our basements. Yeah. Man.
No, this is my main level decor.
Well, I didn't know.
My living room.
That is your basement. I can't tell that. I haven't really been in your upstairs rooms before very much, so I don't know. And Alice changes stuff so often that I never really know.
I know. We're always remodeling something.
But so I'm working on this movie. I had this idea while I was on Rebel Without a Crew. I was like, okay, it's called Rebel Without a Crew, but in reality, you have a crew. Your cast becomes your crew. People help out. Like, you're not crewless. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what would it actually be like to be completely crewless, completely by yourself? So last September, I think it was last September, I finally decided to write the idea. And I wrote this script called Scumbag that's all about a guy who's in a bunker. It's like my Omega Man, basically. And so I started writing this, or Last Man on Earth, whatever. So I started writing this idea, or I wrote this idea, and I started filming it. I actually grew my fingernails out for like almost a year and my hair out for like 6 months, and filmed the first scene where I like clip my nails and stuff like that. I wear a gas mask through the whole movie. So I started filming this, and then I'm like, you know what? I'll send it to Daniel. I mean, I don't want feedback, but I just need to put it out there. I need to just at least get a response, because I'm doing this in a total bubble of myself, and it's really, really hard to not get any feedback at all. So I sent it to Daniel, and then he's like, dude, we should do this bigger. Like, we should do this. This script is interesting. It's good. Yeah. It's got something to it. I say we go bold with it and try to get it done. And we met for dinner at lunch one day. Yeah, it was like brunch, and then we ended up having like 12 drinks.
Right.
And
it turned into dinner.
It turned into dinner, and but it was. We talked about Scumbag and how we should do this movie, and I was like, okay, you know what? I grew my nails out all this time. I did all this work, but you know what? You're right. It's a good script. Let's do it and do it right. And then COVID hit, and literally there are like jokes that are things that are happening. There are toilet paper
just what
jokes.
You were talking about. Like, it's very,
it's
topical,
super topical, and it's also from a place where it's not from someone writing retrospectively. So it's not like there's going to be 100 movies that come out about COVID in the next 6 months. Like,
there's already some out now. Yeah,
there's people who are in their basements making movies as well, but they're doing it like introspectively, or like they're doing it right in the moment. They're like writing what they're feeling right now. I was writing this weird idea of what I thought this kind of thing would be like, way bigger and way different, and it's me, so there's like mutants and things, but it's like just it's
we're early in the pandemic. The mutants could be coming.
We're early, but there's toilet paper jokes, there's jokes about like the masks that you have, like the typical paper mask. Like, there's stuff like that that's just felt so on point with what's happening. And Daniel and I both agreed that I should just make this as is right now and then put it out. And if we want to do a big budget version, if we want to do the Desperado to El Mariachi, Evil Dead 2 to Evil Dead, that sort of thing, we can go back and we can do a budget version. We could find an actual actor who isn't me in a gas mask. We could do it a little different and make it better. But I kind of felt like I had to do it while I'm here, while I'm stuck, might as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on right now. And then Daniel and I are just writing the hell out of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's going to be interesting to see, because I think it's definitely more, like Josh spoke to, it's not like a cash grab. It's not like just trying to be topical.
I've seen
relevant.
a few that are like,
right.
Yeah.
It's more of like a catharsis of just the isolation of being a creative and doing stuff on your own, and that self-doubt and that fear, and it just happens to work itself into a narrative of actual self-isolation. So I think I'm excited because it's not pandery, it's not like trying to be exploitative or whatever. It's really sincere, and there's going to be a lot of parallels, obviously, because this has changed all of our lives, but I think it's a good time to do it, and I think it's I think we'll have something to say rather than just be something that's out there,
Yeah, and the truth is, it had something to say before any of this happened, and that's why. Like, everyone is going to have something to say about this. Is only thinking about, well, what do people want me to say about this situation? Mine is not about this situation at all. It's about isolation and depression and loneliness and that self-doubt that one gets when they're left with their thoughts. And so, so I mean, it's also got fucking scenes of me pooping and stuff like that. So it is.
I'm sold. So,
tastefully done. Tastefully done. Yeah.
Tasteful poop.
Shut up and take my money, sir.
So I had actually made my basement into a bunker before COVID happened, and like this was because it was in November. I did it the week before 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I filmed the first sequence. So my basement is still a bunker because I didn't film for a while, and now I'm going back to it. But I have this in the movie he has this like air compression thing that he can launch stuff out of his toilet outside. So if he shits in his basement, he can launch it out. So my family calls it the poop hole. So I have a poop hole on my wall.
Dad's poop hole, really came in handy. We've just been writing, working on comics. We have some scripts.
It's crazy. We have so many, like, now that we've got these sort of, Greywoods wasn't a passion project. That was a project that we were like, let's just go do this thing. And The Good Exorcist was like, okay, we got to do this now. Let's just get something done. Now we have like these 20 ideas we've talked about since we were, 5 years old. We have all of those ideas built up that we're like, well, now we can do them. Now we know what we're doing. Let's try to do that movie, or let's try to do this other thing. So we've all of these like sort of concepts built up, or even like not necessarily an idea we talked about, but we grew up loving Goosebumps books and like that sort of mild horror, like that fun horror. And so, one of our ideas is this movie called House That Trembles in the Night. And that idea, is something that is more of a passion project based on the fact that, or something I'm really like excited about because it is all of our years of friendship and making films and all of this other stuff kind of like coming together into a proper horror movie.
That sounds pretty cool.
So we'll see. That one's like sort of a family drama comedy, but then with like legit scares and some weird stuff.
Kind of poltergeisty.
Like, so we got that, and some like,
we don't really have too much of that anymore. It's either like more childish, where like a lot of that stuff in the 80s, like a kid could watch it, but it was still like a legit horror movie. It just wasn't like really graphic.
Right. And that's kind of the line. Because
I don't think like a lot of kids want to watch stuff that's kiddish.
No, they do not. Kid, like no way. I showed my
stuff. You could watch as a kid, but it wasn't like a kiddish movie.
No, I watched E.T. with my son the other day, thinking like, man, I don't know if this is going to work because it is so like slow compared to what's coming out now. It's so character driven, and there are these weird, scary moments. And my kid was like enthralled, and even better than that, I actually, when Fred Willard died a couple weeks ago, last week, I decided to watch Best in Show, and that's why Best in Show came up in my head. But I decided to watch Best in Show, and Max was sitting next to me while I watched it. He was like, "Dad, can I stay up and watch the movie with you?" I was like, screw it. Why not? I'll let him watch it. He'll fall asleep 3 minutes into this movie. It's Best in Show. It was he liked it more than Star Wars. He loved it. He like, kids don't want to be pandered to. They don't want to be talked down to. And he's like kind of the proof of that I don't think they do. And us growing up, we loved that sort of like Poltergeist, Gremlins, Tremors, Critters, like all of that stuff was our jam because we liked it. And then that's sort of what we're trying to do. It doesn't come out very often now. So hopefully, we can make those kind of movies again. And because we're making them low budget, doing them ourselves and kind of not placating to, how are we going to sell it? That's the thing that we get all the time is like, hey, we loved Greywoods. We don't want to distribute it because we don't know how we're going to sell
Right.
Like, do you guys have an idea? Like, I've literally had distributors say, okay, if you have a solid plan of how to sell this, we'll take it. And I'm like, well, if I had a solid plan of how to do it,
I wouldn't be asking you to take it. Yeah, that's the circular reasoning that we keep running into. And yeah, we're just the next plan, once this kind of dies down, does what it does, and after Scumbag, we're just going to try to get a little bit more money for the next one, just to like keep doing this. Like, we're not trying to make a lot of money. We're just trying to sustain what we got going and keep this like ecosystem alive.
When you said, your $3, that's it. A lot of people will just, like you said, don't share the link and everything. And it's like $3 to watch a movie is, everyone should be able to afford that.
Right.
But but if you do like, just rip that off and stuff, like, people aren't going to be able to make things.
And that's
right.
And that's the thing, is like everyone looks at it as like the big system, and yeah, the big system, you rip them off, they can continue to make stuff, whatever. But that's not who you're harming. You're really harming the smaller people who are trying to make movies. And when Daniel says we want to get some money for this next movie, or to do a project where we actually have a budget,
well, I figure not like $5 million.
He's comparing that to the $3,000 we made Greywood spot for, and the $7,000 of Robert Rodriguez's money we made The Good Exorcist for.
Yeah.
I mean, Dad has to remodel his basement here. Come on, anything $5 million, I'll take it. What am I gonna say no to $5 million for Greywood?
Yeah, someone was about to send it, and they were like, "Oh, he only wants $10,000."
Yeah, he'll do it for $10K. Okay, perfect.
Well, and that's
the funny. Rip this one up.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is that's kind of what happens is when you do make the no budget movies, then you get people going like, "Oh yeah, man,
you made it for this. Why
I'll give you $20,000 to make my movie." Like, yeah, dude, we should make this. I have the script. Can you do it for $20,000? It's like, well, no, but you don't understand. Like, I wrote around things we had. Like, I can't do your Space Odyssey.
You're the no budget kid. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it's become, and that's fine. But I'm only going to tell my stories if I'm the no budget kid, and we're just only going to put them out once every 5 years. Like, I mean.
I have some friends who like they'll have an idea and they'll need like 150,000 or so, and then they'll never make anything because and it's just like, and other people have told them like, you could do this for 20 or whatever, or make something else. But that's why I was saying earlier, if you just make something, it could lead to something else, or you just may never have anything that you ever made, and then just look back like, oh, I should have made something.
No, that's the funny thing is The Good Exorcist and Greywood's plot are that something else for us. They literally are that thing where it's like, let's just make this and see what happens. And then they've turned into movies that people actually enjoy.
I really enjoy both of them, or else I wouldn't have you guys here.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it a lot. And speaking to those people, it's like, you really just have to do it. And I know that's such cliched advice, but I think even more so do it just to do it. I think you gotta like get the film that's in your head out of there. Like, you got to shoot it and realize, like both of these movies, Good Exorcist and Greywood's, looked way different up here, and it looked different for me than it looked for Josh. But once we were on set, once the camera's rolling, once you're doing it, you're like, oh, okay, I guess we have to now take whatever this is and then pivot, divert our attention to a different angle, a different character, like find it in there, because you're just going to live with that movie for the rest of your life if you don't move with it. And it's going to look good, it's going to sound good, it's going to be whatever, but it's not going to be reality, so I think for us, I think the most fun we have is just taking our batshit insane ideas and actually putting them onto film or digital or whatever, and then like, oh wow, okay, this is what we got, let's make a film out of this.
And that's the wild thing. I think a lot of people have this idea that they think is a good idea, and they're very excited about their good idea, and they're very excited to show people their good idea, and it's going to be amazing. And Daniel and I are the opposite, where we're like, what's the stupidest idea we have, let's do that. And then when someone likes it, we're like, really? Okay, I guess it wasn't just for us after all. Okay. And I think that shows in the movies that we're making them for ourselves, but it also shows to the distributors, because they're just like, yeah, you guys made a movie for you.
Nobody wants it.
Yeah, you made it for you and anyone who maybe will see it, but we don't know how to get them to see it. Like, that's the challenge. But it's so true, as cliche as it is. Like, it is, you just have to go make that thing that you just popped in your brain one day, and don't be sacred about it. Just go make it and do it. Like,
yeah. And I'll say too, like, I think the collective consciousness with the internet and with life, like, your really good idea is that no one's ever done is going to be done in 6 months to a year. So fucking be the first, because
or it's already been done, you're not aware of it.
But yeah, for sure, you know.
Or like a lot of people try to make the movie that they really like, and they're never going to make the movie that they like, that they already enjoyed. They're making their thing of that, and when they just try to copy it, it doesn't turn into that new thing. And like, so for me, it's like looking at movies that I think I could improve on, or things I think I could do better. That's why I love watching stuff. And this isn't like a negative on the movies, but like, I love movies. Like last night I watched The Brain That Wouldn't Die, and yeah, it's a cheesy, campy old movie, but there's like this heart to it that to me is like inspiring. And that's the kind of movie that made me want to make Greywoods. Or like, you know, you can compare Greywoods to Tusk, and a lot of people do, and I love that, because it really was inspired by Tusk. Like, I watched Tusk and I'm like, what's my version of that kind of a Frankenstein monster movie? Like, you know, or Island of Dr. Moreau. We get that a lot too, where it's like, oh, it's kind of Island of Dr.
Moreau. I was going to bring that up, but I don't want to spoil anything. So.
Sure. Yeah.
No, I mean, there's definitely an element of that in there, and it's intentional. Like, there was a movie called Terror Is a Man that I really loved when, like, I saw it on cable when I was growing up, and it definitely influenced Greywood's plot in a huge way. Not necessarily even intentionally, because I hadn't even thought about the movie for years. And then I was doing research on Island Dr. Moreau as I was like trying to think about the sequel for what Greywood's plot would be, or for what Greywood's Providence would be. And I'm like, oh my God, the Terror Is a Man, which was based on Island of Dr. Moreau. And I'm like, this is one of the movies. Or like, this is a weird reference, but I messaged Daniel one day where I'm like, oh man, there's a Bat Boy in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. And there's a moment in Greywood's plot that I realized it's a very weird subconscious thing that, you know, it's not stealing, but you take from things that you see that you like. And in a Bugs Bunny cartoon, there was this imagery that was always interesting to me as a kid. It was one of my favorite Bugs Bunny cartoons, and it was interesting. And then it kind of weaseled its way into the back of my brain and came out in Greywood's plot in a way.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, doing your version of stuff and improving on something that you think could be better, or you think you could do in a different way. That's kind of what I think a lot of people should be doing, instead of watching something and being like, you know what, I like Star Wars, I'm going to do my Star Wars.
Right. Yeah. I'll do it better.
I mean, really, with horror movie, we see it all the time. Everyone is trying to make the next Friday the 13th or the next, you know, whatever. And for me, sometimes they're great, they're good. Sometimes they're even great, but it becomes kind of forgettable in my brain, because it's just, you know, rehashing the same concept.
I get tons of screeners for the show, you know. What you're saying earlier is like, if I see something, even if it's not necessarily great, but it seems like either they had fun doing it, or they're doing something they really want to do, I'll enjoy it on some level. But if I see something that's just clearly like the same movie I've seen a million times, and they're just making something just so they have something out and they think someone will buy it. And that's to me, that's like the most boring thing to watch.
It is, exactly. Or when something is low budget, but it's
even if it's technically well made on some level.
Exactly. That's what, like, if it's really technically well made, sometimes I get pulled out of it even more, because I'm just like, man, they really wanted this to look good. Like, that's it. They wanted to do the
something
work.
Else into it. Yeah.
They wanted to do the work. They didn't want to do any of the fun.
Yeah, we don't have that on our sets.
Well, I think that sometimes too. I'm like, well, if they would have gave the money or the technical equipment to this other movie that I like so much better, just because it's interesting and the people, like, you know, you'd have something really cool. But
I mean
that is part of it. I mean, even doing low budget indie films, you know, when you get people that are technically savvy and are there to do their job, you know, you can quickly lose that heart and that, like, excitement. And that's sort of why we've been doing it with, you know, a crew of 4, like, you know, with nobody, to keep ourselves sane and to keep the work, like, authentic, you know. And because our ideas are so stupid, we don't want to waste anyone's time.
That's part of it too. But we also, like, embrace what it is. Like, we know from the beginning, like, this movie is not going to look like those other movies, so let's just own it. Let's own that camp and that cheese. And for us personally, so that we don't have to watch the movie a million times and go, oh God, that didn't look good. Like we can watch it and go like, that looks amazing for being Keith Radical and Nate Strauss filming, me on a table. Like it's these two dudes have never run a camera before in their life.
I think there's a lot of stuff that's great in Greywood's plot. I think the monsters are awesome in it. And I'm actually surprised you pulled a lot of those off for.
Same.
Yeah, all of us are.
Like,
I mean, it's also like a lot of people get to that point where after they're done filming and after they're done like putting in, 100 hours of work, they don't want to put in that last 100 hours. And in reality, that's just what it boiled down to was we did. I mean, the scene, I don't know how I don't spoil this, but the dinner scene at the end of the movie.
Right, yeah.
We filmed that 2 weeks before the movie was due to the first film festival it had to go to. That scene wasn't written.
And way after everything else had been filmed, like months after.
Months after. Yeah. And we
watched
the movie.
We needed it. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched the movie and I wrote it and I sent it to Daniel and I was like, hey man, this scene would be good, right? And he read it and he was like, yeah, we got to go do this. We can use the basement at the place I work. And we just went and filmed it there. Like we just found the spot, went and filmed it one like Saturday afternoon or something like that. We just got it done. And that, a lot of people won't do that. And I think that's kind of sad. I think if you got to really love your movie that much that you're willing to lose a Saturday after you were supposed to be done to make the movie better.
Yeah, definitely. So May 31st, you're going to be people can see Greywood's plot. So what's the website to go there and get the information and get your ticket?
It's at joshstifter.com right now. That's the easiest place for me to make sure that it's up to date and working and everything. So it's just on my personal website. It's actually, you go to joshstifter.com/shop if you want to go directly to where it's at. And yeah, you just have to buy the ticket and I put your email in. I mean, I'll get an email when you do it and I'll just email it to you, email a link to everyone when the day on May 31st in the morning at like 8 a.m. I'll send it out because that's when I'm going to have the pre-show go live. And all day you can watch behind the scenes of The Good Exorcist and Greywood's plot. I've made like a 12-hour video of like all these different clips. I mean, it loops at times. So it's it's not all original new content. I made 12 hours of brand new original content. But and I'll hop on at certain spots and just kind of chat with people and whatever. So we'll kind of make a fun Greywood's day of it. And then at the end, Daniel and I will hop on a Q&A and answer people's questions.
That's really cool. That's a good time.
And and if anyone is interested after listening to this, The Good Exorcist is available right now on Troma Now and Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And should be on Tubi TV soon.
Really?
We've been accepted.
Tubi, so.
I am too, and I was really excited, but Tubi takes a while to get back to us. And actually, Robert's movie Red 11 is going to be on Tubi as well.
Oh, I was like, about it. So.
Yeah.
So when I was at Stuff, I remember people were talking about it.
Yeah, we were trying to actually get it in Stuff, and it just because of the Tubi situation, I think, and whatever, it just didn't work out. But yeah, it'll be up on Tubi TV hopefully soon. It was accepted. I don't have the dates for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good. This was great. I'm glad you guys both were here, and I heard this is the first time you guys both did a podcast or whatever this is.
I think so, right?
Together, so.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a podcast we've done together outside of like, just doing podcasts together.
Yeah.
So this is exciting. It was a good one for us to be on together. I'm glad you brought it up because I never would have thought of that. Like I never would have been like, we should be on one together. In my head, I'd be like, we're just going to talk over each other the whole time or have inside jokes that no one's going to get.
Right. Yeah.
I appreciate this. Yeah. Very good. And I love the Elite shirt because
thank you. Yes,
I'm going to be watching that myself here pretty soon.
Yes. After this, it's wrestling time.
It is. I'm a big wrestling fan. Just real quick, I guess, any predictions or favorite wrestlers in AEW?
God, no, I'm just excited for the show, man. I
was at the last one in Chicago. It's weird
really?
to think like that was just a couple months ago. How different the world is right now. Yeah,
so true. They're still killing it though, even with the empty shows. And I think the characters, the thing that they have, I think over WWE is just the characters. It's the same thing that WWE had with the Attitude Era. It's characters, not stories. I honestly don't care who wins because they're both. Yeah. Everyone is entertaining to watch. And whereas WWE just like writes people into these corners that are just
their empty arena shows are like night and day.
I can't watch. I can't watch. I did Money in the Bank and I did WrestleMania, but I can't do the weekly. I can't do the weekly shows.
Exact same boat. Yeah.
But Double or Nothing, I'm stoked. I honestly, I don't even care. I just ready for some good matches.
I'm an Orange Cassidy fan, but I like pretty much everyone on the show.
Yeah. So is my wife. That's what makes it fun. Is like AEW is just fun to watch.
It is. It's a good time.
My wife just accidentally watched it and is all about Orange Cassidy now, all about best friends in general. They just do fun stuff, and so I'm stoked.
Cool. Josh, are you a wrestling fan at all?
I am not.
No, you're out of here.
No, didn't you? He was just waiting to get a word in.
Yeah, hold on. Let me tell you about Orange Custody.
Orange Custard's a man.
Orange Custody.
The funny thing is, Daniel and I watched wrestling like religiously when we were kids, and it was a huge part of, my learning to why I love characters, honestly. Like Daniel said, in the Attitude Era, when we were watching it, it was like all about these cool characters, and I was so into them. And then when it started to become story based, I just didn't. It got too weird for a while, like right as the Attitude Era was kind of fizzling out, and I just got out of it. And I still love. I mean, like Daniel and I do wrestling events. Daniel does announcing for these local wrestling events, and I film. And we've only done 2 of them so far, but hopefully there's more, and they're super fun. I love wrestling. I love the concept, but I don't watch.
I've watched since I was a kid, but a lot of my friends are the same way. They either watched during like the 80s, the Hogan era, or they got back into it in the Attitude Era. Then they don't watch it.
Right, yeah. I missed all the Ruthless Aggression stuff. I came back to WWE right before WrestleMania 30, so right when Daniel Bryan was like becoming this larger than life character, and that was a great time to return. But we've come a long way since then. Again.
And the funny thing is at that time when Daniel started watching again, I think it was like, I don't know, probably like just pre-Greywoods, or maybe like I don't know. I got really into filmmaking for a while, and then I was like, there was a point like a year or maybe a year and a half ago where I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna get into wrestling. I need something. I don't watch anything for entertainment anymore. I need something. So I'm like, hey Daniel, what should I be watching for wrestling? He's like, oh, nothing. Like it was like right at the time where it got bad, and he's like, nah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It was like WrestleMania 30 to WrestleMania like 32, and then once it was like the Roman Reigns show, and they just didn't know what they were doing. I'm like, you're not missing anything.
Yeah, I'm right with you. So but AEW I enjoy a lot. So
I'm a huge fan.
Where do you watch AEW? I don't. This is how little I know.
On Wednesday.
TNT.
And then the pay-per-views on, I'm not sure it's
Bleacher Report Live.
There you go. Yeah.
Which, you've probably never heard of before.
I've never.
And I would
not have either until.
I'm the same way.
The face I made was literally TNT still exists. Like I didn't even know TNT still exists.
They love drama, man.
Right. It's on TNT Drama.
Yeah,
that's very fitting for professional wrestling.
Yeah, AEW and the new Snowpiercer television series.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, which was pretty cool.
I haven't seen it yet, but
I just watched it last week because it came on after
I'm excited to see it. It looks good. It looks
at first I was like, what is this weird cartoon? But it was the beginning of the Snowpiercer.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's got an animated.
And I was like, whoa, this is neat. But anyway.
Check it out.
Yeah. So anyway, wrestling fans, check it out. And and for movie fans, check out Greywood's Plot and The Good Exorcist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right on.
Please do.
And thank both you guys for doing this. This is the first ever of these that I've done that went live onto Facebook.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. This was rad.
Is it working? Do you know?
I assume so. Let me check here. People probably sent in questions, but
Facebook.
I tested it because I just set this up to do it, and so I tested it earlier just to see if it would work right before we did this. And apparently it was working, but it's like a little bit of like delay, so it's a little hard to follow if like people are leaving
comments and stuff.
Yeah,
I'll check after and I'll answer I'll do my own.
Right.
You guys just go. I'll stay on here and answer everyone's questions.
Right. Yeah. This is Josh's favorite part. He doesn't have AEW to get to.
Cool.
He loves answering questions.
I love answering.
Jenny Spain from Dead Girl horror movie. She says this is very fun. She's
nice.
Awesome. If you're still here,
Mariella says Greywood Plot is Josh Stifler's film. That's runs. Yes, she's very helpful here. South Texas Underground Film Festival.
Oh yeah.
And people saying they can't wait.
Sweet.
And they have she says I wish Texas had basements, because that's right. I didn't know that, but I guess Texas.
They don't. We knew that. We found that out the hard way because we wrote the scene. Maria was originally supposed to be in the basement. Her bedroom was supposed to be in the basement in The Good Exorcist. So we had this whole the part with Stanley telling the sock hands penis covering dream story that was supposed to be in a basement, and everything in that room was in a basement. And then I sent in the script, and the first note I got back about the script was, hey, we don't have basements in Texas. What are you going to do? I was like, well, change it to not being a basement.
Yeah. But I guess we won't do it in a basement.
Yeah, right.
Someone told me about Florida too, in that I forget the name of the movie Crawl that came out last year. People that live in Florida said that that couldn't happen because they don't have basements here.
Wow.
Basements,
It worked for me, but I didn't know that they did have basements.
I haven't seen Crawl yet, and I'm really, really excited to see it.
It's bad. They don't have basements. It's
that's
total farce.
Totally
throws. It's really good. It's really good.
I want to see it really bad.
It's super good.
What was really cool about it is the two guys that wrote it, the Rasmussen brothers, were regulars at Boston Underground Film Festival that I go to every year.
Oh, sweet.
And so it was really cool that, these two guys, they're there every year, made wrote this really big movie that was produced by Sam Raimi. And everyone at Buff was really happy for them too, which is good to see, because sometimes you think if someone does well,
you get that jealousy thing.
But everyone's really excited.
Those
for
guys.
them,
making their dreams come true and shit.
Yeah, I know, right? Actually doing stuff.
Right.
Everyone always
Makes
wants people. Yeah. Oh yes.
But overall, I found that the festivals are like that. People are cool. Yeah. And Alex Ramirez also said that Greywood's plot was so sick in the best way.
Nice.
Right on. Great movie talk, everyone. All
right.
It wasn't sick in the worst way. That would be bad, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, it was sick, and that's what my mom said.
It's funny. I'm just, we did black and we'll wrap this up, but we did black and white as a choice, and I didn't realize how visual of a person I am, because I just did not view the film to be that off-putting. Mm-hmm. And then Josh started posting colored versions, stills from the movie if there was color. I'm like, oh yeah, this is nasty.
Man,
it's intense.
I honestly believe that if we had gone color, it would have been, and this is just retrospectively, we didn't think about it, but if we had gone color with it, people wouldn't have liked it. I think it would have been too gross, because it's it'd
be a different movie, I assume.
Yeah.
It would be a very different movie.
Fun in a way. I mean, it's not necessarily totally fun, but it would be, like you said, a grosser movie.
I see, and I think it's fun. I think the whole movie, even
I do too, but
because of the fact that
I was trying to think what a normal person might think.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, that's the best part. When the movie gets disturbing, I get giddy. I'm yes, this is when it's happening. And everyone in the theater, you could hear the air leave the room when it started to happen at the Twin Cities Film Festival. It went from people laughing and this room full of friends and family who were kind of giving Daniel and I this pat on the shoulder of you guys really pulled it off this time. This is great, to oh, Dan and Josh.
Then we locked the doors and lowered the lights even further and just took them down this sinister path of
I know. And
carnage.
Originally there was this concept I had where when it goes weird, the movie was going to actually the movie was going to burn out and flicker and end and cut to white, and I was actually going to have the lights come up in the theater and then cut the lights quick and have the light on the screen pop on of Greywood starting to do what Greywoods is going to do. Yeah. And that was my concept. And Daniel's like, nah, let's not do that. It'll pull people out and it will it'll give us more work to do at the screening. It's not worth it, basically.
That's true. That's probably the big part.
But now I'm I think it would have made people puke. I think it would have been too much, because I think that would have happened, and then with what happens after, they would have just been so on edge of their seat. Right. They wouldn't have been able to. They would have left. They would have been man, I don't know what he's going to do next, and it's too visceral. I can't take.
Did you know when you were filming it was going to be black and white? Or was that
we did on the second time. So the first time
Yeah.
we didn't go into it thinking black and white, although it was always kind of like I'm always willing or open to like we do weird shit. So it was never like I'm not doing black and white, but we were filming it in color. And then the second time we filmed, we decided to go black and white, and I actually filmed it in color, but had a black and white monitor that I used. So I was always seeing it in black and white. And that's why I have the color frames still. And man, I haven't even shown the nastiest ones. Some of them are, I mean, because those guys just put like these nasty tongue parts and blood all over my face, and like the chunkiness of it all. Plus, it was like 10 degrees outside, so it was like freezing to my skin and stuff. It's awful. Like it looks But I think Daniel, you made a good point where because it's black and white, it tames it a little bit, and because we made it, it tames it even a little bit more. And because we watch nasty stuff and we're kind of desensitized, it even more it doesn't bother us. But a lot of people just see what we put on the screen. They're not even thinking in black and white anymore. They're not even thinking, and they're just seeing nastiness, and it really throws them for a loop. And I love that. I love that. I never thought that would work as well as it did, and I'm really proud of the fact that when people watch it, they're like, like it's awesome.
It's gnarly.
That's real quick too. One last question here is when you film, so you did the rest of it in black and white. When you're doing like the blood, do you use like a different, so it shows up well in black and white?
No, we just use regular blood. But the thing about black and white, or like I use actual fake blood. Like I buy it because we used to do like make our own fake blood or add some stuff to it. The stuff that you buy at like a Halloween shop comes out of everything. Like, I mean, okay, not like white clothing it won't come out of, but like if you spill it on the floor, it cleans up. And that's been really important to me as we're like filming stuff in other people's houses, that I don't leave stains or wreck stuff.
And you always have the same consistency, viscosity, color. You're not like fucking around with,
experimenting with a different look.
Because we would have, we were really shooting like weeks apart. Like we were getting together when we could. It wasn't like we didn't have 14 dedicated days like we did with Greywood or with Good Exorcist. So it was like, okay, we're gonna do these scenes this week, and then like 7 days later we're gonna meet and do this. So it's easier to keep everything looking the same with you have a big gallon of, of blood.
But the other thing about black and white is you have so much control over your color correction, like your tonal correction. And so with this movie, I actually changed the tone of the red in the actual blood to almost being a green. So there's like it's like a dark green color if you saw like my color correction without the black, with the saturation up, because or with not the saturation, I guess the saturation, whatever, like the black and white filter that's over it.
I guess.
So without that, it's the blood is a lot of times like a weird green tone. And that's my favorite part is when filmmakers, they're always like, that was really smart of you to do black and white because then you didn't have to color correct it. And I'm like, I had to color correct it like way more because you have so much control. But in black and white, if the tone of one shot and the next shot are off, it's so much more apparent than in color. In color, you're still seeing multiple colors. You're still like, your brain is still able to adjust to the fact that like, okay, his skin is still, the tone that his skin is, like it's close, like it doesn't have to be spot on. But with black and white, like if I shifted from one scene to the next and the grays were more gray or the skin tones changed too much, you look like a different person. Like it totally threw you off. So it took me way longer than The Good Exorcist, like 5 times longer than The Good Exorcist.
Well, it looks great. And what was I going to say? There's Human Centipede 2. They also put out, it's originally black and white, but then they put out a color version. And I much prefer the black and white one, but even though the first one's pretty gross anyway, but
I've never seen the color version of that. But again, I think the black and white it lends to what the movie is. Like it I don't know, like it would just, I think it helps it be a little more tongue-in-cheek, and that's what I wanted this to be, was kind of tongue-in-cheek as well. Or like one of the things I see in movies a lot right now is everyone wants people to forget that they're watching a movie. Like they want it to be, ever since like it was like the Nolan like thing that happened. Like Nolan came out with these movies that are these big concept movies, but they take themselves very, very seriously. Like his Batman's, his, you know, everything he does is very earnest, even if it's a silly concept. And everyone is doing that now, man. People take movies so seriously, and I wanted to do the opposite with my indie movies. Like, I'm like, if I'm gonna make no budget movies, I want people to know I'm making a no budget movie and sit there watching it and going like, oh, this is a movie. Yeah, we're watching a movie. Like, you can still like the characters, but Gremlins, how many times do you get pulled out of the world in Gremlins, and it still is totally watchable and awesome. One of my favorite movies is The Burbs. And The Burbs like consistently pulled. There's that shot where they see the bones and the camera's just like whipping, zooming in and out and in and out. Like, it instantly pulls you out, but it's amazing. Like, why not?
Yeah.
That's the fun of movie making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I recreated that scene on my YouTube page somewhere.
Really? Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love that shot.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Yeah, it's probably not done as well, but it's pretty sweet.
That shot is really sloppy, like beautifully sloppy, but it is awesomely, like, you could see that they don't have the perfect like zoom going in and out. It's like, I actually wanted to do one of those shots. I actually did one of those shots in The Good Exorcist, but I ended up cutting it from the movie.
Oh, okay.
I did that when the teddy bear is underneath the bed and Daniel's sitting on the floor, like with his shirt, his robe open or whatever. I did like a zoom in and zoom out, and I thought it was really funny, but I'm like, this isn't the moment to pull them out. Like, let's just let the teddy bear speak its piece and continue on.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. And I appreciate you guys both doing this. It's been awesome.
Of course. Thank you.
We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Totally.
Agreed. Let's do it.
All right. Excellent. I think I have to stop this to stop the recording. So if I hang up, it's not because I just want to actually save this. So.
Yeah.